Chapter 48:23. Master Wu pointed at Little Bean and asked Pudding, "Do you see it? Even your second son is more open-minded than you. Pudding, sometimes it's not good to be too stubborn. The only ones who will suffer will be you and the people around you. Fifth Grandpa hopes that you can be a Buddhist girl and be as calm as your mother." "My mom isn't calm, especially when it comes to handsome Sue. If she finds out the truth, no, sis, don't tell Mom. She's been in pain for so long and has finally forgotten about it. Besides, didn't we agree to give her a surprise at the coming-of-age ceremony?" Little Bean ran over and covered Pudding's mouth, afraid that Pudding would go crazy and tell Huamian about it again. "Forget it, let's not talk about it. Fifth Grandpa, let's go, I'll take you in for tea." Then, Pudding and Little Bean held Master Wu's arm and brought the old man into the main hall. Although Su Yu had been forgotten by everyone remembered Master Wu and respected him. In Huamian's impression, Master Wu was an old man who liked to read fortunes and read feng shui. As for the rest, it was very vague. She couldn't remember when she met Master Wu. It was no wonder that Qin Guogua couldn't find her mother. Huamian had indeed taken the time to sneak out. She went to pick up Rick and Cece, then took little Jean to GK's private custom-made shop. She took out the custom-made evening gown for little Jean, and the little girl was overjoyed. "Animian, thank you. The dress is really beautiful." Jean was actually not young anymore. She was born in the same year as Qin Guogua, only a few days apart. Therefore, Qin Guogua was 14 years old this year, so was Jean. It was said that she played the violin very well, and her dream was to be a world-famous musician and hold a grand concert in Vienna. All these years, in order to help her realize her dream, Rick had indeed changed a lot. Almost all of his businesses had been cleared and became official. He opened a company in the United States and even worked exclusively with Qin Chu. The family of three had just returned from their vacation in Fiji. They did not go home but flew straight over. Other than Rick, Cece, and Jin's family, Huamian also saw an old friend. Nie Lingxian. Because she had erased her memory of Su Yu, she couldn't remember much about Nie Lingxian. She only vaguely knew that she used to be a big star. Later on, she migrated to Canada, found a Chinese husband, and gave birth to 2 boys. Nie Lingxian didn't come back to attend the twins' coming-of-age ceremony. Instead, she came back to visit her family with Cece. Therefore, the two of them agreed to arrive at the domestic airport one after the other. Huamian would pick them up, so they arrived together. Huamian felt warmth in his heart as he watched Rick wipe the ice cream off the corner of his daughter's mouth with a handkerchief from time to time. Who would have thought that such a man would become a slave to his daughter? "Rick, since you like kids so much, why don't you have another one with Cece?" Huamian asked jokingly. Cece was a little shy after hearing this. She smiled at Rick. "You tell me." Rick's face was still as cold as ever. This was comparable to Qin Chu's. He put away his white handkerchief gracefully and reached out to caress his daughter's hair. After a few seconds, he said gently, "Cece's health hasn't been good ever since she gave birth to Jean. I don't want her to risk her life anymore. Our children's matters are up to fate. We're already content with having Jean." Chapter 48:24. Huamian wanted to cover his face in shame. "Okay, I didn't come all this way just to see you two being lovey-dovey. Jean, is the ice cream good?" "Yeah, it's good." Although Jean was already 14 years old, she was too protected by Rick, so she was very pure and innocent. She had become a girl who only knew fairy tales. South Hill Manor. Although the twins' coming-of-age ceremony was still a few days away, everyone arrived early. Even Ni Yang, who had been living abroad for a long time and hadn't returned to China for many years, came back with his wife this time. It was obvious how much importance everyone attached to the Qin family's joyous occasion. It was the first time in many years that everyone had gathered together. Huamian and Qin Chu took a long time to prepare. They also had the help of Bella, Jixin, Tang Chuan, and Qin Ning. When they were eating, the long table was at least 16 meters long. On the lawn in front of South Hill Manor, an extremely beautiful greenhouse was temporarily built. Huamian personally looked over the design and hired a famous Italian designer. The flowers and plants inside were all personally selected by Huamian. The amount of work and money spent was immeasurable. After everyone sat down, Huamin realized that 16 meters was not very long. Then, the Qin family's chef began to eat. Because he was afraid that the elders in the family would not be used to Western food, he did not prepare steak and foie gras. They were all famous 8 cuisines in the country. In front of each of them were 16 small plates, each of which contained a different delicacy. In the past few years, not many people had a second child. Wei Liao and Gao Ran originally planned to have a second child, but because they were too busy with work and did not have the energy, they gave up in the end. Tang Chuan and Qin Ning only had one child. It was a boy named Tang Tianjiao. He was 12 years old and was extremely naughty. He was the most mischievous one among the children. His personality was very similar to Tang Chuan's. Because of this, he had been beaten by his mother many times. Qin Chu's second uncle had already returned to China to enjoy his family's happiness. The headquarters in America was managed by a manager hired by Qin Chu. He would fly there once a month to handle official business. Shen Mingxi and Wei Ying also had a daughter named Shen Dani. She was born less than 3 years ago and was only 2 years old. She was the youngest child in the family. Jixin and Bella only had one child. Her name was Jing Honey, which was given to her by Huamin. She said that she had suffered a lot in her life and hoped that her niece would have a sweet and happy life in the future. Jing Mitang was already 8 years old. Like a big child, she was very sensible, but she was a little timid. She always followed her mother like a shadow. Today's atmosphere is really good. Brother-in-law, bring out all the good wine in your house. Don't be stingy. Tang Chuan was in high spirits and took the lead to kick up a fuss. In the next second, Qin Ning grabbed his ear tightly. What did you promise me yesterday? You have high blood sugar. Do you know that? Qin Ning glared at him fiercely. Honey, don't. There are so many people here. Give me some face. Give you face? Are you that kind of person? If I give you some face, I'm afraid you'll lose your sense of direction. We're in a good mood today. Let him drink. Wei Liao interceded for Tang Chuan, which was rare for him. Wei Liao, you don't know how much this guy can drink. He was drunk at a party of our Tang family and lost his composure. Hey honey, please don't say it. Seeing that Qin Ning was about to tell him something embarrassing, Tang Chuan immediately stopped her. Qin Ning was famous for her ability to control Tang Chuan. He used to be the most unrestrained bastard. After marrying Qin Ning, he became a henpecked husband. While Qin Ning wasn't paying attention, Tang Chuan took out his cell phone and quickly sent a WeChat message under the table. This message was sent to Qin Guogua, who wasn't far away. He casually opened his cell phone and saw the message. My dear nephew, please help your uncle. Chapter 48:25. If there was anyone Qin Ning would listen to, it used to be the twins, but now it was Qin Guogua. It wasn't because Qin Ning didn't like the twins and didn't want to give them face. It was because Tang Chuan, that bastard, had begged the twins too many times. The more he begged them, the less they trusted him. So he set his eyes on Qin Guogua, who had just returned to the country and didn't know anything. Of course, Qin Guogua didn't disappoint. He stood up and said, Auntie, let Uncle drink a little, just a little. With such a casual sentence, Qin Ning actually let him go. I'll let you go today for my nephew's sake. Don't drink too much, got it? Got it what? Tang Chuan smiled cheekily. But in the next second he couldn't smile anymore. The Qin family's maid ran over in a panic and shouted, Oh no, young Master Tang fell into the pool. Then, everyone panicked when they heard this. A few adults who knew how to swim rushed to the front. Huamin, who had experience in first aid, followed closely behind her husband. When Qin Ning ran over, her legs were weak. She was afraid that something would happen to her son. Everyone knew that there was a pool near the garden of Qin Chu's house. The deepest part of the pool was more than 2 meters deep. It was enough to drown an adult. There were some fish in the pool. In the summer, it was used as a viewing pool. In the winter, it was used as a mini skating rink for the twins. Everyone was busy eating. They just saw Tang Tianjiao wandering around the dining table. They didn't keep an eye on him for a while, and something happened. Qin Chu, Rick, Wei Liao, and Tang Chuan all rushed over. They thought that the child had drowned, but when they reached the pool, they found that there were no splashes in the pool. "Where is he?" Qin Chu asked with a gloomy face. The maid was so scared that her face turned pale. "Did he sink?" When she said this, everyone was even more worried. Qin Chu and Tang Chuan were about to jump in, but at this moment, the water splashed and splashed, something came out of the water. Tang Tianjiao was hugging a big koi fish as he grinned and said, Dad, you happen to be on the shore? Quick, take a picture of me and post it on WeChat Moments. This is awesome." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that the kid was safe and sound and had even floated up. It was really a false alarm. Tang Chuan also realized that his son knew how to swim. Although he was not very good at it, it was definitely not a problem for him to doggy paddle. "Don't take the photos for now. Come up first. Dad will give you a good kiss." Tang Chuan controlled his temper and waved at Tang Tianjiao. A few men at the side couldn't help but want to laugh. They had a tacit understanding. After all, he knew that this was a sign that Tang Chuan was going to beat his son. There's no need. We're all family, so there's no need to be so polite. That brat was still smiling mischievously. "Young Master Tang, come up, let's talk." Tang Chuan continued to coax. "Master Tang, I don't think we have anything to talk about. You should go back and drink. It's rare for Mother to be so kind today." "Little brat, do you believe that I won't break your legs?" Tang Chuan was furious and couldn't take it anymore. If it weren't for Wei Liao stopping him, he probably would have jumped down and dragged that brat out. Not only was Tang Tianjiao mischievous, but he was also very smart. "Men, go get that little brat up and lock him in the warehouse," Qi Ning said. She was originally scared out of her wits, but when she saw that her son was fine and that it was just a prank, she was furious. "Uncle, save me." Tang Tianjiao looked at Qin Chu. "You do deserve to be beaten." Qin Chu's face was also gloomy. "You're the best to me." Seeing that Qin Chu didn't agree, the brat looked at Huamin, who was beside Qin Ning. His ability to find reinforcements had been perfected. Chapter 48-26. Hearing young Master Tang's words, Huamin didn't have the heart to do it. "Don't hit him. It's such a joyous occasion. Don't be so serious." "But Tianjiao, you did something wrong and need to be punished. You can sit next to Brother Yao." "Is this a punishment?" Qin Ning saw how protective her sister-in-law was of her son. "Tianjiao is naughty, but he's a boy and didn't do anything bad. You two shouldn't hit him so often. It's not good to educate him with violence." Huamin wasn't being sarcastic. Indeed, she didn't advocate violent education anymore, except when the twins played pranks and Huamin hit them several times. When it came to Qin Guogua, she couldn't bear to hit him anymore. It wasn't because she spoiled the kids, but Huamin thought kids nowadays were very smart and learned to speak early. She should talk to the kids if she had something to say. There was no need to beat them up. Some of the children didn't even know what they did wrong and were beaten up for no reason. Psychological research also proved that children who grew up in a violent environment for a long time would have a violent and manic personality when they grew up. So, Huamin didn't want kids with that kind of personality in the family. However, Tang Tianjiao was indeed a little too mischievous. Among the children of this generation, there was no one like him. He was almost invincible. Qin Guogua, who was about his age, didn't play with him at all. He thought he was too childish. Jixin's daughter, Honey, was timid and didn't like to play with him. Wei Yunchu and Gao Buyuan were like Pudding and Little Bean. They were about to have their coming-of-age ceremonies and couldn't play with him. Wei Ying's youngest daughter, Shen Danny, had just started babbling and wasn't the best choice. Jean, who was brought back by Rick, was about the same age as him, but Jean almost never left his father's side, so Tang Tianjiao didn't want to mess with him. So, Tang Tianjiao didn't like to come to these gatherings. After all, he didn't have any playmates his age. With Huamin interceding, Tang Chuan and Qi Ning finally let their son go. After getting out of the water, he immediately changed into the new clothes that Huamin had found for him. After putting them on, he obediently went to sit beside Qin Guogua. "Cousin, I was almost beaten up just now." He took the initiative to find a topic to get closer to Qin Guogua. You deserve it. Qin Guogua only replied with one word, which almost angered him to death. Tang Tianjiao was so angry that he turned his head and ignored Qin Guogua. He looked at Little Bean beside him. Second sister, that was really thrilling. If someone took a picture of me carrying the koi out of the water and posted it on WeChat, I promise I'll go viral on Mars. He continued to brag. Little Bean lowered her head and smiled. I'm afraid that your parents will beat you up before you even reach Mars. That's impossible. My dad is a bit fierce, but my mom is soft-hearted. She won't hit me too hard, Tang Tianjiao defended himself. Big sis? I recently saw a new phone with unlocked retina. It's so cool. It's only 28,000 yuan. But my mom won't buy it for me. Can you? As soon as he saw Pudding, a greedy thought popped up in his mind. His sister was the richest woman in this group of rich second-generation heirs. Of course, he wanted to take advantage of her. No way, don't even think about it. Before he could finish, Pudding rejected him. You guys are so boring. Forget it, you guys are no match for me anyway. I'll just entertain myself. Tang Tianjiao felt extremely lonely. He didn't have anything in common with these guys. His uncle's 2 sisters and 1 brother were all arrogant and cold, which didn't suit his temperament. Little brat, don't worry. When my auntie comes tonight, you can meet her baby. I promise you'll enjoy it. Little Bean smiled evilly. Your auntie? Her baby? Is it a boy or a girl? How old is it? Tang Tianjiao's eyes lit up when he heard that he had a new friend. Chapter 48:27. It's a secret. Little Bean started to act mysterious, which piqued young Master Tang's curiosity even more. Everyone had a good meal. Huamin met her old friends who she had known for many years. It was as if she had become decades younger and returned to the past. After experiencing the hardships of time, she had become calmer and more indifferent. Her relationship with Qin Chu was also the same. Qin Chu's attitude towards Huamin was still the same as when they first got married. He was so careful to protect, take care of, and love her. Sometimes Huamin thought that she had all the best things in the world. But why did she feel like there was something she couldn't let go of? No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember. After dinner, everyone took a walk in the garden. They chatted in 2s and 3s, and the children played games. The sun was setting. Qin Chu accompanied Rick, Tang Chuan, and Wei Liao to drink red wine and talk about business. Jiang Xiaowei, Qin Ning, Zhu Lingling, Bella, and Jie were having afternoon tea in the luxurious room, gossiping and talking about fashion. Huamin was originally with them, planning to go to the wine cellar to get a bottle of red wine and come back. However, she met Master Wu on the way. He was holding a prayer bead and meditating quietly in a corner. Everyone was used to him being like this. After all, he was a master in this field. When Huamin came back with the red wine, she happened to take a shortcut and passed by him. Master Wu. She smiled gently. Mian. Master Wu opened his eyes and looked at Huamin like an elder looking at a child. It's cold here at night. I have a yoga room. You can meditate there. It'll be more comfortable. Then why would I still call myself an ascetic? Master Wu smiled. Huamin also smiled. Then she suddenly thought of something and asked, Master Wu, I have something to ask you. Okay, go ahead. Huamin walked over with the red wine and sat on the edge of the flower bed beside Master Wu. Then she slowly recalled, all these years, I've been very happy. I have a husband who loves me, a daughter, a son, a group of family and friends who love me. I have money and a career. I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want. Isn't that great? This is something that many people dream of. Master Wu said. Huamin nodded. Yes, I'm very content. It's just that I keep feeling like there's something that I haven't remembered, that I've forgotten. I keep feeling like there's a corner of my heart that's sometimes empty and sometimes sad. It's like I've forgotten something important or someone important. Huamin tried her best to recall that feeling. In all these years, she had never had a nightmare, nor had she dreamed of anyone other than her family. That blurry figure refused to enter her dreams. She could only rely on her sharp sixth sense to feel that something was not right in her heart. After hearing Huamin's words, Master Wu's gaze became slightly complicated, but it was only for a moment before he brushed it off. After all, in front of someone as smart as Huamin, he couldn't make any mistakes. It wouldn't be good if she saw through him. Little Bean was right. Little Bean was right. Huamian couldn't know about this. After all, this was Su Yu's last wish. Master Wu couldn't tell her the whole truth, nor would he ever tell her the truth about Su Yu. Master Wu, you're a master of fortune-telling. Can you tell me if I've forgotten someone important in my life? Huamin said in a low voice. Chapter 48:28. Even Master Wu, who was as calm as a Buddha, was shocked when he heard these words. Everything about Su Yu surged up in her mind. Even his handsome face appeared clearly in front of her. However, it was only for a moment before Master Wu came back to his senses. What's the big deal? Haven't I seen your destiny before? You were born with wealth and fortune. You were ordinary in your early years, bumpy in your middle years, and rich in your later years. That's all right. I'm not talking about my destiny. I just feel like something is missing in my life. I can't put my finger on it. Even the quick-witted Huamian couldn't express that magical feeling. After all, this was what she felt in her heart. Outsiders didn't have that kind of resonance. After hearing Huamin's words, Master Wu smiled slightly. Mian, let me say something. You might think that I'm a little direct, but actually, your phenomenon is just your imagination running wild. However, I can understand that people are like this. People have 7 emotions and 6 desires, which is why they're not called immortals. There's a saying that's very true. What you get is often not cherished, and what you can't get is always on your mind. Your life right now is too perfect, so you always want to find something to regret. This isn't a good thing. I suggest you calm your heart down and slowly walk down the path of time. You're right, Master Wu. I was too pretentious. I shouldn't have let my imagination run wild. Huamin blamed herself and felt that she was thinking too much. After hearing Master Wu's words, she came to a realization. Perhaps she was thinking too much. Let me tell you a way. If you continue to let your imagination run wild in the future, calm down and copy the Buddhist scriptures to calm your heart, Master Wu suggested. Huamin nodded. Okay, I'll do as you say. Then continue meditating. I won't disturb you anymore. The guest room for the night has been arranged, so you can stay there in peace. It's rare for you to come back. I don't know when I'll see you again. Master Wu smiled and closed his eyes to continue meditating. At night, they sat around the top of the mountain. Huamin arranged a bonfire, and everyone had a good time around it. The elders didn't come because of their physical inconvenience. But without the elders, everyone was able to let go. The children ran around freely as if they were in a grassland. Even the shy Honey and Jean blended in with them. Qin Guogua had a toothpick in his mouth. He was obviously bored. She wanted to go back, but she didn't want to disturb everyone, so she got up and sat beside Pudding. Sis, what? Pudding tilted her head. I saw Wei Yunchu on the streets of Berlin last month, he said. Pudding's expression changed rapidly, but she suppressed it. Obviously, she didn't want anyone to see any changes in her emotions. Oh, isn't that normal? His classes are so relaxed, so of course he's wandering around. Thinking about how Wei Yunchu had to bring Tian, that bitch, wherever he went, Pudding felt inexplicably stifled. Qin Guogua seemed to know what his sister was upset about, so he added, he came with his tutor. I think he came to finish a project. Oh. Pudding pretended to be indifferent. He came to school to see me. I treated him to a beer, and we chatted for a while. Oh. Pudding's reaction was still indifferent. He said he missed you a lot. Qin Guogua's words finally made Pudding lose her composure. Chapter 48:29. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm telling the truth. Qin Guogua saw how scary his sister's eyes were and felt uneasy. Pudding was about to say something when her phone rang. She focused and picked it up. Hello. President Qin, come over quickly. Myukin and I are at Galaxy Bar and we got into a fight. Myukin is injured and we don't dare to call the police or the ambulance. We don't want to alert the media. What should we do now? It was Liao Mukin's agent. Hearing this, Pudding got up and left without a word. Hey, sis, where are you going? Little Bean noticed Pudding getting up like the wind and asked quickly. I have something urgent to deal with at the company. You guys stay with everyone. I'll be back soon. Pudding drove there alone in a white Lamborghini. She sped all the way to Galaxy Bar. Inside the private room on the top floor, Pudding pushed the door open and saw that only Liao Mukin and his agent were left inside. The room was full of glass shards. Liao Mukin covered his head with a white handkerchief. He was probably injured. There were also red bloodstains on his arm. President Qin, you're finally here. What happened? Pudding was shocked. After all, this was the first time she saw Liao Mukin injured. In the past, although this kid was arrogant and domineering, he was the one who bullied others. How did he get beaten up like this today? I'm fine. I just got into a fight. Liao Mukin lowered his head and covered the wound on his head. Are you a kid? How old are you? Pudding was furious. It was rare for celebrities under her company to fight, especially a top celebrity like Liao Mukin. After all, his every move was watched by the whole nation. If the media caught him, his image and persona would be ruined. Then this celebrity's future would be ruined. It would be completely ruined. Therefore, Pudding felt that an 18-year-old girl like her wouldn't do such a thing. Liao Mukin was already 23 years old and was an adult. How could he be so immature? Liao Mukin stuck out his tongue in front of Pudding's question but didn't answer. President Qin, let's go to the hospital first. I think Mukin's injury is quite serious. The agent was scared out of his wits and didn't explain the situation to Pudding in detail. He only thought about the injury. I'll drive him to get his wounds bandaged. You take care of the bar. Keep this a secret. Don't let anyone else know about this. Xiaoqing. After the agent received the order, he began to deal with the aftermath. Pudding grabbed Liao Mukin's clothes and dragged him into the Lamborghini. Ouch, be gentle, be gentle. I'm an injured person. Faced with Pudding's rudeness, the boy cried out in protest. Why didn't you think about the pain when you were fighting? You deserved it. It was Liao Mukin's first time sitting in the boss's car. He had to admit that the car was very cool. It was not a matter of how much it cost. After the car was brought back, it had undergone excellent modifications and had become the best of the best. Boss, is this car for sale? I want to buy it. Shut up. Pudding glared at him and drove to Southside without another word. Since her mother was the director of Southside, Pudding had the green light all the way to Southside. He took Liao Mukin directly to the VIP ward and found a reliable doctor to help treat the wound and examine it. By the time they were done, it was already 12:30 p.m. President Qin, this gentleman's injury isn't very serious. He just needs to pay attention to the wound and change the dressing. He doesn't need to be hospitalized. Okay, thank you, Dr. Liang. After sending the doctor away, Pudding walked to the bed. You're a superstar. You drank and got into a fight? Are you out of your mind? Chapter 48:30. You can't blame me. After all, I'm young and reckless. Shut up. Pudding was also very angry at his cynical attitude. Liao Mukin licked his lips and looked at the 18-year-old girl with a strong aura. She was one of the most talked about presidents in China. First of all, she was only 18 years old and managed GK Entertainment on her own. Second of all, her venture capital company made a lot of money every day, and the media used to describe Pudding as such. Her family wouldn't be able to spend all of their money in their next life. Therefore, whoever married Pudding in the future would be marrying a gold mine. The most eye-catching thing wasn't her wealth, but her looks, which inherited her father's perfect genes. Pudding and Little Bean looked exactly the same, but because Little Bean was chubbier, she didn't have the same strong aura and charm. Little Bean, on the other hand, had the sweet temperament of a girl next door, so Pudding became a cold and arrogant existence. Boss, I heard your nickname is Pudding? Liao Mukin suddenly asked. Pudding's eyes turned colder. However, this guy didn't seem to have enough fun and didn't plan to stop. Instead, he continued to ask, then from now on, I'll call you boss in the company. In private, can I call you Pudding? Pudding grabbed the pillow on the hospital bed and threw it at him. "Oh, you're so violent. As the boss, shouldn't you love your employees the most? Especially an employee like me, who makes money for the company. You're so narcissistic. Don't think that just because you're popular and have a lot of fans. You have a 5-year contract with our company. Believe it or not, I can immediately freeze you and cut off your acting career. A businessman wouldn't do that. That would make you lose a lot of money." Liao Mukin chuckled. "Money? Do you think my family is short of money?" Pudding raised her eyebrows. Liao Mukin smiled and said, "Of course I know your family runs a mine and has money. So, boss, I heard that you don't have a boyfriend. How about I marry into your family? I promise to be an obedient boyfriend, filial to my in-laws, and love my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Come on." Seeing his playful look, Pudding was too lazy to continue talking nonsense with him. She looked down at her watch and saw that it was getting late. "You can stay at the hospital tonight. I'll have someone pick you up tomorrow. There's a new movie premiere tomorrow afternoon. Remember to go." "You're leaving?" Liao Mukin, seeing her leave, he was reluctant to leave. "Do you have something else?" Pudding looked at him. "I'm so lonely in the hospital. Why don't, boss, you stay with me for a while and wait for me to fall asleep before you leave?" He smiled brightly. "I gave you face. Why don't you go to heaven?" Little Bean rolled her eyes. "Ha, I knew you'd say that. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Drive safe." "You drove too fast. My organs were all displaced on the way here. You're a girl, why did you drive so fast? You're not even a drag racer. Shut up and stop nagging." Yes, Liao Mukin was the most talkative boy she had ever met. He was simply a replica of Tang Sanzang. Boss, I have one last question." Seeing Pudding pick up her bag and turn around, Liao Mukin straightened up. "Speak." Pudding was getting impatient. Chapter 48-31. "Can I attend your coming-of-age ceremony?" he asked, enunciating each word. Pudding was about to refuse. After all, her coming-of-age ceremony was a small one, and the guests were all high-class VIPs. She didn't plan to invite outsiders, nor did she invite the company's employees. Don't misunderstand. I just want to meet my senior, Yang. I heard that he's back in the country, and the media is hyping it up. He was so popular back then and sang so well. He must have a lot of tricks up his sleeves. I want to talk to him and fulfill my wish. After all these years, I've only liked one idol. Unfortunately, he's been abroad for many years and hasn't come back." Pudding had long heard that Liao Mukin liked Yang. When Yang became popular, the twins weren't even born yet. Later, after Yang retired, his last album was a hit for 5 years. Liao Mukin's singing wasn't very good, but he liked Yang's style. This didn't seem like an excuse at all. After some thought, Pudding replied, "I'll think about it." Yes, she didn't give a clear answer. Even if Liao Mukin wanted to go to the coming-of-age ceremony, she only said that she would think about it. Pudding did have more than a dozen invitations in her hands. As a popular superstar, it wasn't a problem for Liao Mukin to come. But if her mother saw him, would she? Pudding's heart was still in a mess as she walked out of the hospital. She sat in the Lamborghini and didn't start it immediately. Instead, she sat there in a daze for a while. There was a secret about Liao Mukin that only Pudding, Little Bean, and Master Wu knew. It was a secret that even Liao Mukin didn't know. It was Liao Mukin. He looked very much like Su Yu. Master Wu had erased all traces of Su Yu's existence in this world, so even the Su family didn't remember that they had such a son. Only Pudding and Little Bean's memories weren't erased because of the jade gourd Lu Yen gave them. So many years later, when Pudding saw a newcomer in the entertainment industry named Liao Mukin, she was dumbfounded. His looks were very similar to Su Yu's, but his personality and aura were completely different. Everyone thought that Pudding signed with Liao Mukin because he was a money tree and could make money. Only Little Bean knew that her sister did this because she looked like handsome Su. Huamin didn't care about the entertainment industry and never read the news, so he only knew that one of Pudding's children was very popular. But he had never seen it before. Pudding once wondered if her mother would remember something if she saw Liao Mukin's face one day. Pudding was very contradictory. She was afraid that her mother would remember, but she was also afraid that her mother would forget. She knew it was best for her parents to forget Handsome Sue. However, if they forgot about Handsome Sue, it meant that they would forget about everything he had done for their mother, father, and Little Bean. Little Bean had warned her sister many times not to let her mother see Liao Muken to avoid a series of unpleasant things. However, the moment Liao Muken expressed his desire to come, Pudding hesitated. 15 minutes later, Pudding's car left South Side. Liao Muken stood in front of the window on the 5th floor and watched the car drive away. He muttered to himself, "What a strange little girl. She always seems to have a lot on her mind." When Pudding returned to South Hill Manor, it was already 11 o'clock. The guests were resting and the guests were going home. The two elders of the Su family and the Qin family had also gone to bed early. Pudding thought that everyone was asleep, but to her surprise, she saw an extremely warm scene when she entered. Chapter 48-32. Huamin was wearing a white cotton nightgown and was lying on Qin Chu's lap with a face mask. Qin Chu was drinking tea and watching the news on the finance channel. Little Bean was playing a popular game with Qin Guogua on her phone. Pudding knew they were waiting for her. "Hey, my sister is back." Little Bean put down her phone. Huamin got up from Qin Chu's lap. "You're back so late. How's work?" "It's done," Pudding said. "Come, sit down. It's rare for our family to be together. There were too many people during the day, so I didn't have time to talk to you guys." Huamin smiled gently. She waved at Pudding. Pudding couldn't resist her mother's smile. She took off her high heels and walked to the sofa with her bag. She found an empty seat and sat down. "Wow, our family of 5 is reunited. No, we must take a picture." Little Bean picked up her phone, opened the camera, and looked at the lighting. When she thought it was about time, she found the best angle with the camera and took a series of photos. This time, they didn't pose for the photo and didn't gather together. It was very casual. However, the effect was surprisingly good. After all, they were a family of good-looking people. Other than Huamin, who wasn't as good-looking, the others were all celebrities. After the photo shoot, Little Bean excitedly posted it on her WeChat friend circle. She had a lot of fun. Pudding, on the other hand, was a little tired after running around all day. She leaned on the sofa and didn't want to talk or move. "Sis, eat an orange. It's very sweet." Qin Guogua handed the orange that he had peeled for a long time to Pudding. "You've become a lot more mature after 2 years abroad." Pudding looked at her brother with a doting expression. "Nonsense, I've always been a good boy, okay?" Qin Guogua wasn't convinced. "Honey, do you have any questions? Since everyone's here, can you start?" Huamin turned to Qin Chu and acted like a spoiled child. Qin Chu asked Little Bean directly, "Can you lose some weight? Look at you and your sister, you don't look like twins anymore. You should lose some weight and eat less snacks." "Dad, you think I'm fat?" Little Bean asked in disbelief. Huamin laughed and fell on Qin Guogua's shoulder. "Pa, look at you. Even your taciturn dad can't stand it anymore. We're talking about you, but you won't listen." Huamin laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. "Mom, you should tell Dad about Little Bean's diet at Southside," Pudding added. "Qin Zhao, how dare you betray me? I'll kill you." Little Bean pointed at Pudding and yelled at her sister. Little Bean goes to the hospital cafeteria every afternoon. Before Huamin could finish, Huamin interrupted him. Little Bean dashed over and covered her mother's mouth. "Dinhua, please don't say it. Please let me off. Sis, aren't you afraid that Big Brother Boyun will dump you?" Qin Guogua added. "Why are you guys attacking me? Shouldn't you say that Pudding is busy and doesn't have time for us? Or that Qin Guogua goes to school in Germany and spends 10,000 euros a month on his pocket money?" Feeling wronged, Little Bean tried to shift the blame onto her sister and brother. "However, I'm spending my New Year's money. It's none of your business," Qin Guogua said matter-of-factly. "I don't spend much time with you guys because I'm helping Dad with his work. I'm sacrificing myself for Dad," Pudding explained. "So, you guys are all noble but I'm the unlucky one?" Little Bean rolled her eyes in anger. Dad, it's unfair for you to treat me like this. Do you know that? Finally, Little Bean pointed at the first person who attacked her tonight. Chapter 48:33. Chin Chu still looked at Little Bean tenderly. Dad is doing this for your own good. Dad is biased. He likes big sister and little brother, but he doesn't like me. Little Bean rolled her eyes and began to nitpick. Huamin couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up for Chin Chu. Little Bean, don't you feel guilty for framing your dad like this? Your big sister works from dawn to dusk, and your little brother goes to school and comes back only once in a while. You're the one who spends most of your time here. Think about it, what do you want? Don't you ask your dad to buy it for you? Then you save your own salary, New Year's money, and pocket money. What's worse, I heard that you wanted to give Boyuan a limited edition hoverbike for his birthday last year, and it was your dad who paid for it. Why are you talking about this? Aren't I your biological daughter? If you don't give it to me, who do you give it to? Little Bean felt guilty when her mother started to dig up old scores. Everyone burst into laughter. Little Bean was the joker of the family, the joker. For so many years, she had played this role, so it was impossible to say that Chin Chu was biased. Although Pudding was outstanding and Chin Guoguo was obedient, Little Bean was the most popular and the best at flattering the whole family. She spent the most time at home. Although she was doing an internship at Southside, she still ate at home. Sometimes, she was too lazy to drive, so she didn't even drive and sat in the passenger seat of her mother's car. When she wanted to eat dumplings at night, she called her grandma and her grandparents wanted to make them themselves. During the holidays, Pudding was busy going on business trips, Chin Guoguo was busy with his work-study program, and Little Bean swindled some money from her dad so she could go to the Maldives with her friends to enjoy the sun. So, the little girl was asking for trouble when she said that her dad was biased. Do you guys want coffee? I recently learned a new way to make it, and it tastes really good. Do you want to try it? Little Bean tried to please everyone. Sis, you change your mind so fast. Chin Guoguo rubbed his temples. I'm being nice. If you don't want it, then forget it. You let us drink coffee in the middle of the night. You really love us. You won't let us sleep. Pudding lowered her head and held her phone. She was checking the news to see if there was any news about Liao Mukin's fight. Everyone's waiting for Auntie and the others, so they won't go to bed too early. Little Bean said confidently. Huamin chuckled. Go on, 1 cup each. But don't try to extort money from us. Don't worry, I have enough pocket money recently. Besides, I won't blackmail you. After all, my auntie, that godly tycoon, will be here tonight. The pocket money you give is not even enough to fill the gaps between my auntie's teeth, okay? Little Bean loved Lu Yen as much as Pudding did. Ever since they were little, Lu Yen had spoiled them and gave them a lot of money. In the past few years, Lu Yen had given the twins hundreds of millions of gifts on their birthdays. There were all kinds of diamonds, watches, and bracelets. Huamin kept telling her not to waste money like this. His heart couldn't take it anymore. Chin Guoguo also liked Lu Yen, but because he was a boy, he was introverted and didn't know how to express his feelings, so he didn't say it out loud. Little Bean used the excuse of making coffee for everyone and ran away so that they wouldn't continue to attack her. Chin Chu, on the other hand, discussed the German economy with his son. Huamin glanced at Pudding and said in a low voice, "Come with me." Chapter 48:34. Pudding got up and followed her mother upstairs. Change into your home clothes. Don't dress so professionally. It's too tiring. Huamin took Pudding into her bedroom and found a set of cute, emerald green home clothes for her in her closet. Pudding obediently changed out of her mermaid dress and into her home clothes. Huamin carefully picked up Pudding's clothes. I'll take them to the laundry room first. I'll dry them tomorrow and put them in your closet. Thank you, Mom. Don't mention it. After Huamin came back from the laundry room, Pudding was still in the bedroom, sitting on the couch and playing with her phone. The two girls had lived separately since they were 6 years old to cultivate their independence. South Hill Manor had prepared separate rooms for them back then. The room they used to live in became Chin Guoguo's room. When Huamin came back, he sat down beside his daughter. Have you been tired from work recently? I'm fine. Pudding put away her phone and looked at her mother. If you're under a lot of pressure, you can tell your dad to give out some of your work. Your aunt, your uncle, and your Uncle Yang can all do it. Huamin had always known that his eldest daughter was a workaholic and very career-oriented. He was afraid that she would be too tired. After all, she was still young. It's okay, Mom. I can take it, Pudding said casually. She didn't show any emotions on her face. It was hard to see emotions on her face. In this aspect, she was stronger than her parents. Even if her heart was in turmoil, she still looked calm on the surface. Huamin sometimes felt that Pudding was very much like him when he was young, but he didn't want her to be too much like him. After all, his stubbornness could be quite hurtful sometimes. After a pause, Huamin lowered his head and didn't ask any more questions. Mom, what do you want to say? Just say it. Pudding could tell that her mother had something to say. Even if she didn't say it, she knew. Today, your Auntie Xiaowei came and talked to me in private. She said that she doesn't know what happened between you and Yunchu back then. He hasn't come back for years. You know, during the Spring Festival, your Auntie Xiaowei and her family always go to the States to visit Yunchu and spend the Spring Festival with him. Actually, we elders shouldn't ask about the things between you two. But, Pudding, your Auntie Xiaowei and your Uncle Wei are very, very good friends of mine. Even if you and Yunchu don't like each other, it's good to be friends. As expected, Pudding knew that something that even her mother was hesitant to say was not a good thing. Very few people dared to mention Wei Yunchu in front of Pudding. When Wei Yunchu went abroad, Pudding woke up with a fever and Qin Chu forbade anyone from talking about it. Now that a few years had passed, everything seemed so peaceful. Today, Xiaowei came with red eyes and said that she hoped that Pudding and Yunchu could resolve the misunderstanding. Even if they didn't like each other and didn't want to be lovers, they could still be friends. Wei Yunchu was sure that there was a barrier in his heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed away for so many years. Wu Yuan occasionally contacted Wei Yunchu and called him. Pudding vaguely heard from Little Bean that Wei Yunchu had changed a lot. He didn't like to talk and express himself more than before. Pudding was sad to hear it, but she didn't know what to do. Now that her mother brought it up again, she naturally had mixed feelings. Wei Yunchu and I. It's not what you think. We didn't become enemies. Maybe we're just not suitable for each other. If he comes back now, I'll treat him like a normal friend. Don't worry, I won't disrespect Auntie Xiaowei. Are you and Yunchu together because of Tian? Huamin couldn't help but ask. Chapter 48-35. Other people didn't know Tian's true colors, but Huamin did. He had experienced it when he was little. Tian pretended to let go of her past. However, Huamin knew that Hui Yanyan had left a deep impression on her. She wouldn't act as if nothing had happened. Only Wei Ying and her husband would believe her. Almost all the elders knew that Tian liked Wei Yunchu because she was too obvious about it. Although Tian called Wei Ying mom, she wasn't Wei Ying's daughter, so she wasn't related to Wei Yunchu. It wasn't impossible for them to be together. However, Huamin had seen that Yunchu didn't like Tian very much. He even disliked her. However, he didn't know what happened a few years ago that made Tian take advantage of the loophole and go abroad with Wei Yunchu to study abroad. In the past few years, Wei Yunchu and Tian didn't come back to China and didn't keep in touch with these people. Therefore, he didn't know how they were doing. Today, when Xiaowei chatted with Huamin, she made it clear that she wouldn't let Yunchu and Tian be together. No matter who Yunchu married, he wouldn't marry Tian, so he asked Huamin to explain it to Pudding. Huamin knew that his daughter had a lot on her mind and didn't dare to say too much. Mom, it's not like that. Tian didn't play a big role in this. Yunchu doesn't like Tian and won't like her in the future. I know all this. Then why did you? Huamin was even more confused. Mom, let me handle this myself. I really don't know how to explain it to you. Okay, I'm just worried that you'll feel wronged and keep it to yourself. But I know my daughter is the best. You'll take care of yourself. Pudding nodded slightly. At this moment, Little Bean's squeal came from downstairs. Oh my God. Auntie's private jet landed at the airport at the top of the mountain? So cool. Then, Little Bean dashed out like a gust of wind. Hearing that Lu Yen was here, Huamin and Pudding hurried downstairs, so they didn't continue the conversation. Lu Yen was supposed to arrive during the day since she had sent people to Germany to protect Qin Guogua on his way back. Later on, he heard that he had something to do in Malaysia, so he went to Southeast Asia at the last minute. They arrived in Sea City in the middle of the night and landed at the top of South Hill Manor. What was that saying again? The lives of the rich were varied, and the lives of the poor were roughly the same. Lu Yen was one of those super rich people who could do different things every day for 365 days. She could do anything she wanted. It was still a short distance from the top of the mountain to South Hill Manor, so Qin Chu arranged for the driver to drive a Lincoln limousine up to pick them up so that everyone could sit together. Huamin's eyes turned red when he saw Lu Yen from afar. Over the years, every time Lu Yen came, she would feel very touched. Lu Yen only wore a black leather jacket, dark blue jeans and marten boots. She was still as unique as ever. Her long hair was down, and she was dressed in a retro style like a famous Hong Kong celebrity from the 90s. Still, she was stunning. Behind Lu Yen was the silver-haired Xiao Fei. Beside him were two girls who looked exactly the same. They were about 11 or 12 years old and wore the same black windbreaker and black marten boots with a lot of nails. Then, they looked exactly the same as the two girls. Oh my God! That's Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuan. They're so tall? Little Bean exclaimed. Chapter 48-36. When Lu Yen and her family arrived at South Hill Manor, it was already 11:30 p.m. Other than Lu Yen and her family, they also brought a few bodyguards with them. As expected, they were a family of gangsters. They all dressed like gangsters. Huamin had seen the Qiao twins many times, but he had only seen Little Bean and Pudding a few times. So, when he saw that the two sisters were already 12 years old and were so tall, he was excited and surprised. When Lu Yen came out of the nightmare, she went crazy looking for Xiao Fei. Xiao Fei was kidnapped by Qiao Nan and the rebels in the Golden Triangle and was kept under house arrest in the Golden Triangle for more than 3 months. Later, Xiao Fei escaped by himself and Lu Yen regained him. Scared out of her wits, she married Xiao Fei immediately. But because she was still young, she didn't have children immediately. After 2 years of marriage, she got drunk at her wedding anniversary and got pregnant unexpectedly. After Professor Lu and Huamin persuaded her, Lu Yen decided to be a mother and have children. No one expected that she would be able to give birth to 2 daughters at once, just like her sister. Xiao Fei was overjoyed. He immediately turned into a slave to his daughters and was no longer as cold as before. Her sister's 2 daughters were named Qin Zhao Zhao and Qin Mumu, which meant that they would accompany each other day and night. Against everyone's objections, Lu Yen named her 2 daughters Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuan, which meant reunion. Lu Yan's arrival excited Huamin and his family. Xiao Fei and Qin Chu were good friends. When they came back, they went to the study to drink tea and chat. Lu Yen gave Huamin a bear hug and almost pressed her sister to the ground. The sisters were very affectionate when they met. Huamin prepared supper, cakes, and fruits for his 2 nieces. Pudding and Little Bean also ate with them. The dining room downstairs was also very lively. Has Dad contacted you recently? Huamin asked Lu Yen. No, I don't know where the old man is. But don't worry, he'll definitely come on Pudding and Little Bean's coming-of-age ceremony. Lu Yen knew her dad well and knew he wouldn't miss such a big event. Qin Guogua stood behind Huamin, tall and handsome. Lu Yen liked her nephew very much, and her face was full of love. Yao, why don't you eat something? Lu Yen pointed at the table. I want to maintain my figure and not follow in my second sister's footsteps. Qin Guogua said righteously. Lu Yen burst out laughing. Little Bean glared at her brother angrily. Shut up, you little brat. Do you want to die by slandering me everywhere? Before Qin Guogua could say anything, Xiao Tuanchuan said, Sister Little Bean, you're a bit overweight. You can't keep getting fatter. No boy likes fat people. Fat people don't have spring. Little Bean. At this moment, Xiao Yuan, who had been silent the whole time, added in a serious tone, That's right, Sister Little Bean. Soon, you'll know that no one knows if your lipstick is Chanel or Dior, Saint Laurent or Givenchy. No one can tell if your belt is DG or LV, if you have money or cards in your wallet, or if your watch is Vacheron Constantin or Cartier. However, your face is big and small, your legs are thick and thin, and your butt is round or flat. Everyone can see it clearly from 3 meters away. Little Bean, me. Xiao Yuanyuan's words pushed the atmosphere to the climax. Even Pudding, who was always cold and arrogant, burst out laughing. Little Bean was the only one left in the room. Don't be like this. You two bully me as soon as you come. It's not fair. Little Bean felt wronged. Chapter 48-37. Yuan, brilliant. Pudding gave her a thumbs up. It was clear that although the two demons were only 12 years old, their intelligence was far beyond that of a 12-year-old. They were famous for their high IQ and EQ. Lu Yen once joked that if there was an international IQ and EQ ranking competition, would the top 10 all belong to their family? Pudding, Little Bean, Tuan, Yuan, and Guogua would all be in the top 5, right? Brilliant? She's just a fart. Little Bean rolled her eyes. Big brother Yao, do you want to play a game? The oldest, Xiao Tuanshuan, liked to be active, while the second, Xiao Yuan, liked to be quiet and didn't talk much. Game. Qin Guogua had a feeling it wasn't a good thing. Close combat. Do you want to play? The loser has to give 100,000 yuan of pocket money to the winner, Xiao Tuanshuan said. But that's a big bet. This is going to be fun. Little Bean instantly forgot about the unpleasantness just now and was eager to watch the show. Huo Mian and Lu Yen looked at each other and smiled. They both knew the kids had a sense of propriety when they joked. Even if it was close combat, it was just a friendly competition. There wouldn't be any problems. It sounds like you'll definitely win. Qin Guogua leaned against the pillar with a toothpick in his mouth. His expression was calm, just like Huo Mian's. Yes, I'm confident. Xiao Tuanshuan raised his chin. Big brother, you have to be careful. Xiao Tuanshuan's skills have improved by leaps and bounds. I've already lost 800,000 yuan. Xiao Yuan reminded him kindly. 800,000 yuan. You've lost 8 times? You've never won? Little Bean looked at Xiao Yuan. No, but we tied once when my sneak attack succeeded, Xiao Yuan said. That's not optimistic. Little brother, you have to think carefully, huh? If you lose 100,000 yuan, you might as well buy me a Black Swan limited edition black diamond cake to eat. I can still accept your kindness. If you fight with Tuan and lose, not only will you get beaten up, you will also lose 100,000 yuan. The gains do not make up for the losses. Little Bean gloated. However, Pudding glanced at her little brother and said, Little brother, you and Tuan fight. If you lose, I'll pay for you. Why are you so nice to him? You're biased towards Qin Zhao. Little Bean reached out to scold Pudding. Because I know my little brother won't lose. Pudding was full of confidence in her little brother. Whoa, the atmosphere is so tense. I really want to watch the competition. Lu Yen watched the kids bicker with each other, and her interest was piqued. Xiao Tuanshuan's moves were a combination of Xiao Fei's and Lu Yan's moves. Xiao Yuan didn't like to learn combat. If it wasn't for her mother saying that she had to protect herself and was afraid of being kidnapped, she really didn't want to learn at all. Thank you for your help, big sister. But I also feel that I might not necessarily lose. Qin Guogua stretched lazily. Logically speaking, he hated sparring with others the most. In Germany, there were a few black people who kept provoking him in school, but he didn't do anything because he hated trouble the most. The real reason why he agreed to spar with Xiao Tuanshuan wasn't because of the 100,000 yuan bet. It was because he knew that Xiao Tuanshuan was very strong and had powerful moves, so he really wanted to spar with him to test the waters. He was interested in sparring with the strong. As a result, just like that, in the middle of the night, a group of people walked out and arrived at the lawn in front of them. Qin Chu and Xiao Fei heard the news in the study on the second floor and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window to watch the battle. Xiao Tuanshuan took off his windbreaker and threw it to the side. Every move was clean and neat. Chapter 48:38. Big Brother Yao, I won't go easy on you. I hope you'll do the same. Xiao to Anchuan chuckled. Don't worry. Bring it on. In just 2 seconds, Xiao to Anchuan rushed up and attacked fiercely. Little Bean was dazzled by her moves. She's so fast. She's so good at kung fu. I'm so jealous. Little Bean was drooling with envy. She thought she and Pudding were very good at taekwondo because they were 9th Dan black belts. At least she could take down 4 men by herself. However, compared to Xiao to Anchuan, they were like children playing house. My sister is indeed very strong. She can fight with Uncle Ali for 15 minutes now. Xiao Yuan smiled slightly. Little Bean and Pudding were both surprised. What level was Ali? What level was he at? He was a top mercenary in Lu Yan's team. He had killed more people than they had eaten bread. Xiao to Anchuan was only 12 years old. Although she was already 165 meters tall, she was still a 12-year-old child. It was already very good that she could fight with Ali for 15 minutes. Looking back, they found that although Xiao to Anchuan attacked fiercely, Qin Guoguo was in a passive position. However, if one observed carefully, they would find that although the attacks were fierce, they also consumed a lot of energy. Although Qin Guoguo was in a passive position, he dealt with it easily and didn't even pant. Qin Chu and Xiao Fei saw it clearly from the second floor. Tu Anchuan is too impatient. She's not as calm as Yao, Xiao Fei said. Tu Anchuan didn't use her ultimate move. It's hard to say who will win. Qin Chu thought they couldn't underestimate Xiao Tu Anchuan. After all, she was the child of Xiao Fei and Lu Yen. The child of a tiger couldn't be a cat, right? Sure enough, seeing that her fierce attacks didn't work and Qin Guoguo was dealing with it easily, Xiao Tu Anchuan immediately changed her tactics. She changed her attack style and forced Qin Guoguo to take the initiative. 5 minutes later, they were still evenly matched, but Qin Guoguo wasn't as relaxed as before. Xiao Tu Anchuan, on the other hand, was still full of energy and kept attacking. Her fast attack style made people highly vigilant, because as long as they let their guard down, they would lose everything. Little Bean was very excited and kept talking to Xiao Yuan. I don't want to tell you guys that you came at the right time. Tomorrow, I'll introduce you guys to a friend. My auntie's son is Tang Tianjiao. He's very naughty. You guys can play with him. I'm sure you'll win him over. Xiao Yuan didn't say anything after hearing that. She just smiled mysteriously. After Lu Yen gave birth to the baby, she had stopped taking orders. She had been taking in business for the past few years. Even so, the combined wealth of Lu Yen and Xiao Fei was more than enough to last them 3 lifetimes. After Lu Yen retired, she disappeared from the world and lived in seclusion with her subordinates on an island in Xanadu. Occasionally, she would come back to visit Huamin. As for the 2 children of the Qiao family, they did not go to school in Europe because of their special identities. Instead, they went back to Russia and received the education of the best military school. The old master of the Qiao family treasured the 2 children. After Xiao Fei escaped, Lu Yen issued a death warrant and killed Xiao Nan. Her relationship with the Qiao family deteriorated. So, Xiao Fei lived with Lu Yen on the island until his children went to school. His father was old and considered handing over the position of the head of the Qiao family. They enjoyed the happiness of family. So, few people knew about the identity of the twins, and even fewer people had seen them in person. Xiao Tu Anchuan was arrogant and flamboyant, while Xiao Yuan was low-key and unpredictable. They were almost a miniature version of Lu Yen and Xiao Fei. It's over. I think Yao is going to lose. Huamin was scared out of his wits. Chapter 48:39. Lu Yen smiled slightly. It's okay, sis. My nephew won't look bad even if he loses. Do you know how hard Tu Anchuan trains every day? Lu Yen knew her daughter very well. Xiao Tu Anchuan had inherited Lu Yan's iron will and took combat and military equipment as her favorite hobby. Xiao Tu Anchuan was only 12 years old. When Lu Yen was 12 years old, she didn't seem to have such a mature mind. At that time, she was just a noisy little girl who ran around and was hunted down by her enemies. Xiao Tu Anchuan, on the other hand, was studying at an advanced military academy in Russia. She didn't receive any special treatment because of her identity. Instead, she received more intensive training than others. Xiao Tuanchuan was a tough girl. Therefore, Lu Yan didn't think Qin Guoguo would look bad if he lost to her cousin. Huamin didn't say anything. It was just a competition between the kids, and he thought it didn't matter who won or lost. However, just as Qin Guoguo was about to lose, she suddenly changed her moves. Their speed was simply beyond the limits of humans, and their footsteps suddenly became light and graceful. Suddenly, 5 or 6 more figures appeared. Xiao Tuanchuan was confused and didn't know what to do. There's a chance. Pudding crossed her arms and smiled slightly when she saw the situation change. Xiao Yuanyuan stood beside Pudding and didn't say anything. She just smiled as if she was smiling all the time. It was said that this girl had been hiding a dagger behind her smile since she was little. She might smile gently at you 1 second and then stab you in the next. Not many people knew about Lu Yan's twins. After all, they had special identities and weird personalities. If Huamin and Qin Chu's twins were little demons, then Lu Yan and Xiao Fei's twins were little monsters. Mei's fist. Lu Yan was surprised. Chinese martial arts were extensive and profound. Although it had been lost for a long time, it didn't mean it was extinct. Wing Chun, Yiwen, Xiaoyao Fan, Mei's fist, Mantis kick, and drunken fist were still circulating in the martial arts circles. Lu Yan had once learned Tai Chi and studied it on a Daoist mountain. However, she felt that it was too gentle and slow. It didn't suit her impatient personality. After all, Lu Yan didn't practice martial arts to strengthen her body but to kill with every move. So she gave up. What Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan had learned were authentic military combat techniques. They were fast and accurate. Qin Yuyao also learned it, but he saw that he was not as good as Xiao Tuanchuan. At the last moment, he changed his move. He used a very ancient and almost lost traditional martial art. It was indeed unexpected. Xiao Tuanchuan originally thought that this was a plot that only existed in movies and novels, but it actually appeared here. Xiao Tuanchuan also didn't know what to do. He continued to use his own military fighting techniques, but found that it was useless against his cousin. His method was to use 4 tails to defeat 1,000 caddies. In the end, after Xiao Tuanchuan tried to attack for 3 minutes, she gave up completely. In the last move, Qin Guoguo's expeditious steps caused the little girl to feel dizzy. She wasn't paying attention and was strangled by Qin Guoguo. I lost. Xiao Tuanchuan spread out his hands. He lost without hesitation. The little girl was very courageous and wasn't a sore loser. Yao, who did you learn Mei's fist from? Lu Yan walked over and rubbed Qin Guoguo's head lovingly. As far as Lu Yan knew, her sister, brother-in-law, and even her father didn't know this kind of fist technique. Qin Guoguo used it so skillfully that he must have learned it for a long time. Chapter 4840. Qin Yuyao lowered his head shyly. 5th Grandpa taught me. Master Wu? Lu Yan was stunned, and so was Huamin. Qin Guoguo explained, 5th Grandpa said that he would teach me a set of boxing techniques to strengthen my body. I didn't think much of it. I thought it was something like the 5 animal frolics. After learning it, I realized that this boxing technique was actually very powerful, but I've never shown it before. If Tuanchuan's attack wasn't so powerful today and I couldn't handle it, I might not have used it. Qin Guoguo's words had acknowledged his cousin's valiance and strength. This made Xiao Tuanchuan very happy, and her impression of her cousin improved. Master Wu is really an expert. It seems like I'll have to learn from him later. Hearing that Master Wu still had so many tricks up his sleeve, Lu Yan immediately had an idea. Huamian hurriedly stopped him. Stop it. You're already retired. Why are you still learning those things? With your current strength, no one is a match for you. Stop being so smug and enjoy life. Don't do things like playing with knives and guns. I know, sis. Lu Yan said coquettishly. The person she liked the most in the world was probably her sister. She liked her even more than her father. Huamin was mature and acted like an older sister. Whether it was his biological sister, Lu Yan, or his biological brother, Jixin, who was not related by blood, it was the same. Until now, Huamin hadn't told Jixin and Yang Meirong the truth. She felt that it was a white lie. After all, it didn't matter if they were related by blood or not, because she already treated them as her real family. As soon as Lu Yen got off the plane, Xiao Tuanchuan gave her cousin a show of strength, which shocked everyone. Fortunately, Qin Guoguo wasn't someone to be trifled with. He was able to withstand it and counterattacked beautifully. 12:30 p.m., in the winery of South Hill Manor, Lu Yan's family and Huamin's family had a small gathering in the spacious basement of the winery. In order not to disturb everyone who was sleeping soundly, the two families drank red wine and chatted. Qin Chu rarely cooked and prepared a sumptuous meal of steak and pasta for everyone. The red wine in the winery was even more casually drunk. Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan also very impolitely picked 2 bottles. The price was not cheap. Pudding seemed to have something on her mind the whole night and didn't really let go. Even when she talked and laughed, there was a hint of something on her mind. While everyone was eating happily, Xiao Tuanchuan walked over and put his arm around Pudding's shoulder. "Sister Pudding, do you have something on your mind? What do you think?" Pudding knew that this girl was very smart and wasn't as easy to fool as Little Bean. "If I ask this, I must have noticed something. Tell me why?" "Wei Yunchu? Liao Mukin?" Xiao Tuanchuan's words were heavy. Pudding licked her lips. "You're well informed." "Of course. When we were at the military academy, our first class was intelligence gathering. We had to gather information that was useful to us. When I was free, I would pay attention to the domestic news and see some reports. So, after I found out that you took over GK Entertainment, I took extra care of Liao Mukin." Xiao Tuanchuan's voice wasn't loud, but she knew that Pudding didn't want others to know about this. In fact, Xiao Tuanchuan wasn't only interested in Pudding's private life. Sometimes, she even helped Little Bean track Gao Buiyuan's whereabouts in Jing City. With her hacking skills, she could directly hack into Gao Buiyuan's school network and monitor who he was in contact with in school and whether he had fallen in love with other girls. Of course, she didn't do this kind of boring stuff often. She only did it occasionally for fun. She even knew Qin Guoguo's situation in Germany like the back of her hand. Lu Yen once said that Xiao Tuanchuan would take over her mother's business and manage the legitimate business and mercenary group. Xiao Yuanyuan would take over the Qiao family business after Qiao Fei's father retired. The two sisters had a clear division of labor. Chapter 48-41. After hearing her words, Pudding pinched Xiao Tuanchuan's little face. "I know I can't hide anything from you. Why do I feel like you're more and more like Black Widow from the Avengers?" No. That name is so unlucky. I don't want to be Black Widow. I'll have countless handsome men in the future. You're so young, but you have big dreams." Pudding laughed. "Don't change the topic. You haven't answered me yet. I actually have another question. Pudding, you're not obsessed with looks. You shouldn't like a high-profile guy like Liao Mukin. So, can you tell me why you've been taking care of him for the past 2 years? Xiao Tuanchuan played with the lighter in her hand and asked Pudding in a low voice. She had been curious about this for a long time and had done a lot of research on Liao Mukin, but she couldn't find anything. However, this didn't seem like Pudding's style. After a while, Pudding sighed slightly. "He's like an old friend of mine." "An old friend? Don't tell me he's your idol in kindergarten." "No." "Then where's your old friend? You can go find the real one. Why are you looking for a fake?" Xiao Tuanchuan didn't know much about relationships because she had never liked a boy, so she didn't know what it was like. She couldn't figure it out with theory. "My old friend is gone." Pudding was very sad. Hearing her words, Xiao Tuanchuan immediately understood her cousin. She patted her cousin's shoulder and comforted her. "Let bygones be bygones. Life is just a long-distance train. Sooner or later, we'll get off and you'll finally see your old friend at the terminal." Pudding nodded. "What about Wei Yunchu?" "Cousin, I heard you two were childhood friends. We haven't seen each other in 5 years. I don't even know what he's like now." Pudding smiled sadly. Pudding's personality was very similar to Qin Chu's in many ways. Qin Chu could endure being abroad for 7 years without looking for Huamin. Of course, Pudding could also ignore Wei Yunchu's situation for 5 years. She didn't even pay attention to Weibo or Instagram, let alone see his photos. Xiao Tuanchuan leaned close to Pudding's ear and whispered, "If it's because of that woman called Tian Tian, I can help you kill her. It's a piece of cake." Pudding was not surprised that Xiao Tuanchuan would have such an idea, and she knew that she was definitely not joking. After all, Xiao Tuanchuan had killed people before. Growing up in the background of Lu Yen and Xiao Fei, she wasn't a flower in a greenhouse. Pudding was already used to bloodshed, so she only needed to nod her head. Then, Tian Tian would disappear from this world at any moment. But she wouldn't do that. "No, it's not as simple as Tian Tian between us. Don't do anything to her. It's my own problem. I haven't adjusted my mentality yet." Xiao Tuanchuan was about to say something when Little Bean yelled from afar, "Pudding, Tuanchuan, come and have some steak." The two smiled tacitly and didn't continue the conversation. Instead, they went back to their seats. Lu Yan's arrival brought a smile to Huamin's face. He hadn't been this happy in a long time. "Sis, are you still going to be that lousy director? Is it fun? Is being a lousy doctor your lifelong dream?" Lu Yan asked Huamin as she ate her steak. In fact, she didn't want her sister to continue working here. She hoped that her sister would visit her more often. "I'm used to it. After all these years, I have developed a deep affection for Southside." Huamin smiled. "When Dad comes tomorrow, you can invite him to be a special professor at your hospital. He's already so old, but he still runs around the world and makes people worry." Then, Lu Yan looked around the room smugly. "Kids, what do you think of this idea?" Chapter 48-42. Little Bean nodded first. "That's a great idea. I support you, Auntie." After all these years, Little Bean, you still love to flatter people. Xiao Yuan chuckled. "Go away. I'm serious. I really want Grandpa to stay." Little Bean was overjoyed at the thought of Grandpa staying with her. "I don't agree. I want Grandpa to go to Russia," Xiao Tuanchuan said domineeringly. "It's good for Grandpa to stay with me in Germany. He can do some research on my project." Qin Guogua also began to fight for favor. "You guys all have your own reasons. That's enough. Don't dream about it. Let's wait for your grandpa to come and see where he likes to stay," Huamin said. Xiao Fei suddenly had a flash of inspiration and had a suggestion. "Since the atmosphere is so good, why don't we do this? Tomorrow, Daddy will come over. You all can show off your skills and show your grandfather what you're capable of. Then, whoever can persuade him with their skills can stay there." Lu Yan secretly pinched Xiao Fei. "Why are you so mean? You know Dad likes people who are good at medicine. Out of all the kids, Yuan is the best. Aren't you trying to steal her from your sister's family?" Xiao Yuan was full of confidence. She looked at her parents with a smile and didn't say anything. If one were to say that Huamian's medical skills had reached a freakish level, then Xiao Yuan was like the new waves of the Yangtze River overtaking the old. It was said that Xiao Yuan could make all kinds of fever medicine, cold medicine, and anti-inflammatory medicine by herself since she was 5. When she was 8, she could dissect corpses by herself and make perfect incisions. She was someone that many famous medical schools in the world fought over. However, Lu Yan had too many enemies and didn't want her daughter to go abroad. She could only send her to the Russian military academy. Xiao Tuanchuan specialized in military equipment and Xiao Yuan was a military doctor. So, at 12 years old, she was already an excellent doctor. Professor Lu would personally guide her every year. The little girl's medical skills were perfect. So, Xiao Fei's suggestion was indeed unfair. Little Bean was unhappy when she heard her auntie say that. Little Bean was also a medical student, but she wasn't as good as Xiao Yuan. She had just finished all the courses in advance and worked as an intern with her mother at Southside. Andy, this is really unfair. How about this? Let my mom participate as well. If Grandpa thinks that my mom's medical skills are better than Yuan's, she can stay at South Hill Manor. You're a smart little girl. You're good at scheming." Lu Yan was amused. The night snack passed in laughter. It was not until 3 o'clock in the morning that everyone returned to their rooms. Pudding took a shower and went back to bed. It was almost dawn. Just as she was about to sleep with him, she received a WeChat message. Morning, boss. One look at the tone and she knew that it was from Liao Mukin. Pudding, it's really early. What are you doing this morning instead of sleeping? Liao Mukin, I just came back from my morning run. Pudding, so you were too excited from running and couldn't sleep, so you harassed the boss? Liao Mukin, I wouldn't dare. I'm afraid that my boss will deduct my salary. Pudding, good. Go to sleep. Liao Mukin, boss, didn't you give me a day off? I'll rest for a few days. Pudding, what's wrong? You don't want to? Liao Mukin, no. I'm bored at home. How about we go hiking together tomorrow? I heard that the maple leaves on Dragon Tiger Mountain are all red and beautiful. Pudding, so you think I'm free? I'm free to go hiking with you? Chapter 48-43. Liao Mukin, I can wait for you to get off work. Let's go together and see the night view. Pudding, I have a lot of guests at my house. You know how busy I am these days. Liao Mukin, I know your coming-of-age ceremony. Pudding, I'm going to bed now. Pudding didn't continue talking to Liao Mukin about the coming-of-age ceremony because she was still wondering if she should ask him to come. She definitely couldn't go hiking. Xiao to Anchuan had been right for the past 2 years. Pudding was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She had taken care of Liao Mukin a lot. If it weren't for GK Entertainment's support and money, Liao Mukin wouldn't have become so popular. In Pudding's eyes, Liao Mukin was a very promiscuous person who liked to flirt with girls. It was said that before he became famous, he had countless scandals at school. After he became famous, he flirted with all kinds of popular actresses and formed a couple. Although he didn't have a real girlfriend yet, Pudding knew that he didn't lack women. She even often scolded him for looking weak. Liao Mukin didn't seem very attentive to Pudding. He would occasionally tease his boss, but sometimes he would seriously ask her out. However, Pudding almost never agreed. Apart from work, she wouldn't have too much contact with this guy. The next morning, Pudding had a meeting in the morning, so she ate breakfast with Qin Chu and left early. When they left, no one was up yet. Pudding drove the Lamborghini while Qin Chu sat in the passenger seat. The father and daughter looked very handsome. At the entrance of GK, Dad, you can go back to the office first. I'll go to the publicity department to check the schedule. I'll see you in the conference room. Okay. Qin Chu nodded and said goodbye to his daughter at the door. He went straight to the top floor and she went to the publicity department. Pudding didn't expect to hear such explosive news as soon as she walked in. Perhaps the employees didn't expect her to come so early. As soon as Pudding walked to the door, she heard 2 women's voices. President Qin suppressed the news of Liao Mukin getting into a fight at a bar. Even if the media heard about it, they didn't dare to expose it. I heard President Qin even gave Liao Mukin a break. Yeah, I also heard that Liao Mukin got into a fight because of President Qin. Really? Are you jealous? I don't know. Anyway, I heard that one of the people in the bar was from a prestigious family. After drinking, he kept bragging that he wanted to sleep with President Qin. He even said that if he couldn't sleep with her, he would force himself on her. Liao Mukin has feelings for President Qin, so of course, he wouldn't listen to such words. He rushed up and I heard that he gave the guy a concussion. Oh my God, this guy is so hardworking, but President Qin doesn't like him. No matter how famous he is, he's just an actor. President Qin is one of the heirs of GK and has a high chance of taking over his position in the future. He's a billionaire, good-looking, and has a great personality. I don't think Liao Mukin is good enough for President Qin. Pudding didn't continue listening. She just felt that it was because of her that Liao Mukin got into a fight that day. However, she still spoke ill of him, so she did feel a little guilty. His good intentions seemed to have been taken for granted. Pudding quietly left the room and didn't enter the publicity department. She didn't want to be embarrassed. She sighed slightly and called Liao Mukin's agent. After learning the whole story, she felt even more conflicted. She was nice to Liao Mukin because he looked like Su Yu. However, if Liao Mukin fell in love with her because of this, then she didn't want to see that happen. After all, she didn't like him. At the entrance of the Sea City Airport, Jiang Xiaowei parked her black Porsche Cayenne on the side of the road. The handsome boy, who was wearing a black sunscreen and carrying a BV travel bag, slowly took off his sunglasses. "Son, get in the car." Jiang Xiaowei's eyes were full of motherly love. Wei Yunchu returned to China for the first time in 5 years. Chapter 48-44. Wei Yunchu opened the door to the passenger seat, threw his travel bag into the back seat, and left quietly with Jiang Xiaowei. Other than Jiang Xiaowei, no one knew about Wei Yunchu's return. He didn't inform anyone in advance, not even when he was drinking with Qin Guoguo in Germany. Why would someone who hadn't come back for 5 years suddenly come back? The answer was obvious. It was for the twins' coming-of-age ceremony. Or rather, Wei Yunchu wanted to attend Pudding's 18th birthday. Does Pudding know you're back? Of course not. Mom, don't tell anyone. You want to give her a surprise? Jiang Xiaowei was in a good mood as she drove with her son back. Wei Yunchu pursed his lips. Actually, I don't know if my return is a surprise or a shock to her. Son, don't say that. Actually, between you and Pudding, Mom, let us solve our own problems. Hearing her son's words, Jiang Xiaowei knew that her son didn't want the elders to interfere and didn't want to put Pudding in a difficult position. Where's Tiantian? She came back early and didn't go to my aunt's house? Wei Yunchu pointed at Wei Ying's house. Jiang Xiaowei froze. I saw your aunt yesterday and she said Tian was in Germany. Wei Yunchu didn't look surprised. That's her business. He never cared about Tian. 5 years ago, Wei Yunchu went abroad. That night, Tian made a last-minute decision and Shen Mingxi spent a lot of money to help her with the troublesome procedures. Over the years, everyone knew that Shen Mingxi was good to Tian because of Hui Yanyan's death. After all, Hui Yanyan was in Shen Mingxi's hands for Wei Ying. So, that couple always felt guilty for Hui Yanyan's orphan. That was why she had a good life all these years. All the elders knew that Tian liked Wei Yunchu. But only Pudding and Wei Yunchu knew that Tian didn't really like Wei Yunchu. She just liked to compete with Pudding. In short, she liked whatever Pudding liked. Over the years, she followed Pudding's hairstyle. Pudding was wearing the same style of clothes as her, and she wanted to buy the same clothes. Tian had changed from a scheming bitch to a scheming bitch because of her desire to compete with others. That was why Wei Yunchu liked her. Wei Yunchu lived in his own luxurious apartment in the United States. There were maids, butlers, and bodyguards. It was heavily guarded. Tian, on the other hand, lived in the single apartment on campus with other students. Because they weren't in the same department, they didn't see each other often. Occasionally, Tian would come to find Wei Yunchu, but he would avoid meeting her. Later, he heard that Tian was very close to a foreigner and they even moved out to live together. Not long after, he was beaten to the point that he was hospitalized. However, he didn't dare to tell his family about it. It was Wei Yunchu who brought the bodyguards to send her to the hospital and beat up her violent boyfriend. Perhaps out of gratitude, Tian didn't stick to Wei Yunchu as much after that. In school, she got along well with the other Chinese students. He had heard about Tiantian's return to China from others. It seemed that not only did she come back, but she also didn't tell her family. This woman was really something. Do you want to go home first or go to your dad's company? Jiang Xiaowei tilted her head and asked her son. Before Wei Yunchu could speak, the female host's voice sounded on the small TV in the car. At 10 a.m. this morning, Mr. Qin Chu, the president of GK Corporation, and Ms. Qin Zhaozhao, the executive president of GK Entertainment, held a new jewelry product launch at Kaiwe Hotel. Popular stars Liao Mukin and Han Yueyao both attended. Let's take a look at the scene. Wei Yunchu's eyes were glued to the screen as he stared at the cold girl sitting beside Qin Chu. Chapter 48-45. At the Grand Hyatt Hotel. After the product launch, Qin Chu looked at his watch. Take them out for dinner. I have to meet a client later. After the father and daughter hurriedly finished the product launch, Qin Chu left first. Pudding brought Mu Chen, Han Yueyao, and a few newbies that the company wanted to promote. In the limousine, Pudding sat next to Han Yueyao while the other celebrities sat on the edge. "Thank you for your hard work today. What do you want to eat? My treat?" Pudding looked up and asked everyone. The newbies didn't dare to say anything and were all polite. "President Qin, it's up to you." "Auntie Yao Yao, what about you?" Han Yueyao was in her 30s, almost 40. She had grown from a newbie to a veteran star. Her appearance fee was as high as 80 million yuan and she had participated in many big foreign productions. However, her love life had always been a mystery. It was said that she had a strange disease and forgot the man she used to like. After so many years of searching and meeting many people, she felt that something was wrong. In the blink of an eye, Han Yueyao was in her 30s, but she was still alone. She lived in a billion-yuan mansion and drove a 10 million yuan sports car. However, she still felt that she was missing something. Han Yueyao's agent, who had been with her for many years, became her rumored husband. "I'm fine. I'm not very hungry. Where's Liao?" Han Yueyao glanced at Liao Mukin. "I want to eat at President Qin's house. I heard that South Hill Manor is very big. I've never been there before." Hearing Liao Mukin's flippant words, everyone laughed. Han Yueyao also laughed. South Hill Manor is indeed big and has a lot of delicious food. But it's too late to go now. Don't we have an event in the afternoon? Han Yueyao declined on Pudding's behalf. Otherwise, would she really take these people home to have dinner? The answer was no. South Hill Manor was full of important guests. The twins' coming-of-age ceremony was imminent, so she couldn't take irrelevant people home. "Do you want to go to Heidaleo? Xiaomo, Luoshi, Jinsei, what do you think?" Pudding didn't give them a chance to choose and made the decision herself. "We're fine with anything. President Qin, you decide." The newbies naturally listened to their boss. "I haven't had hot pot for a long time." Han Yueyao nodded. "Boss, if I don't go, can you reimburse me?" Liao Mukin tilted his head and looked at Pudding with a smirk. It was as if teasing the boss was a particularly fun thing to do. In the entire GK Entertainment, he was the only one who dared to speak to his boss like this. After all, he didn't need to worry about being fired because he was too valuable. "Sure, I'll give you 30 yuan. You can go out and eat," Pudding said casually as she looked down at the information in her hands. "Boss, you're so generous. Tell me, what can I buy with 30 yuan? Liao Mukin retorted. "Malatang, hot and sour noodles, scallion pancakes, instant noodles." And you can add a few more eggs," Pudding retorted. "Boss, you're indeed a businessman. You're so smart. But I still want to go to Heidaleo with you." Pudding took her artist to a nearby hot pot restaurant and went straight into a private room. Pudding put down her handbag and went to the washroom to touch up her makeup. Then, suddenly, she felt her heart race. It was as if something was going to happen. It had been a day and she felt uneasy for no reason. There were only 2 days left until the coming-of-age ceremony. Would that person come? What would happen after he came? Pudding looked at herself in the mirror, her eyes confused. Chapter 48-46. On the busy road, a low-key luxury car drove by. "Do you want to eat Heidaleo?" Wei Liao asked his son. When he woke up this morning, his left eyelid kept twitching. At the time, he thought it was funny and wondered if something good was going to happen. After all, when his left eyelid twitched, something good was going to happen. Later, when he got busy at work, he didn't pay much attention to it. It wasn't until his wife took his son to the company that Wei Liao was dumbfounded. Then, he couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. No matter what the reason was, Wei Yunchu didn't come back to China for 5 years. As a parent, they definitely felt uncomfortable. Now that his son came back without warning and even showed up at the company, Wei Liao was naturally very excited. Wei Yunchu's personality was completely different from Gao Buyuan's. When Gao Buyuan was bored, he would argue with his father or joke around with him. Wei Yunchu had always been very sensible, super sensible, and had a very close relationship with his father. Therefore, when Wei Yunchu first went abroad, Wei Liao really wanted to visit him. He even took time out to visit Wei Yunchu in the States with Jiang Xiaowei 5 times. Basically, they went once every 2 months. It was lunch break, so Wei Liao immediately put down his work and took his wife and son out for lunch. When they passed by Heidaleo, he even asked his son if he wanted to eat. Neither he nor Jiang Xiaowei noticed that a limousine was parked in front of the hot pot restaurant. It was the car of the president of GK Entertainment, Pudding's car. She was here too? Wei Yunchu's gaze deepened. Was he going to meet her in this way? What would it be like after they met? What would her expression be like? Would she be happy to see him come back? After a few seconds, Wei Yunchu shook his head. Dad, I don't want to eat hot pot. Okay, then let's go somewhere else. In the end, Wei Liao took his wife and son to a famous Sichuan restaurant to eat the famous pickled fish. Wei Yunchu looked at the familiar and bustling streets, his heart filled with emotions. Son, why are you back so suddenly? Jiang Xiaowei glared at her husband. You already know the answer. Wei Yunchu smiled faintly and said nothing. Does Pudding know that you're back? Sure enough, this dad of his was a little nosy. Wei Yunchu pursed his lips. She doesn't know. Then, when are you leaving? 3 days later, Wei Yunchu said. Wei Liao and Jiang Xiaowei were both stunned. What's the rush? 3 days later? Isn't that the night of Pudding and Little Bean's coming-of-age ceremony? Yes, I flew to Jingdu at 2 o'clock in the morning, then transferred to Berlin. You're in such a hurry. It's only been 3 days. It's too much. Can't you stay for a few more days? Jiang Xiaowei was reluctant to part with her son. Her eyes were red. Wei Yunchu reached out his big hands and hugged his mother's shoulders warmly. I also want to stay for a few more days, but there are really a lot of things to do at school. Didn't I tell you? I signed up for a lot of classes this semester and even worked as an assistant for our tutor. I don't want to delay the progress of the whole group because of personal reasons. Wei Yunchu was an extremely independent person. In the 5 years he had been abroad, he had never asked his parents for help because he couldn't solve anything. Never. Even though he was only 18 or 19 years old, which was the same age as Pudding, he looked very mature. Even many mature adults didn't have his wisdom and skills. Have you prepared a present for Pudding's coming-of-age ceremony? Jiang Xiaowei looked at her son with heartache. Jiang Xiaowei had watched Pudding grow up, so she knew the child's personality too well. Therefore, even though she really wanted to help the 2 kids get married, she couldn't do anything about it, not even Huamian. Chapter 48-47. Wei Yunchu nodded. What gift is it? Jiang Xiaowei asked her son. It's a secret. He chuckled. The family of 3 finally managed to have a meal despite their busy schedule. On the other side, it was also very lively. After Lu Yen came, Little Bean didn't go to work and begged her mother to take the day off. In the morning, Huamin drove to Southside for a meeting, but Little Bean stayed in bed until 9 a.m. Then she got up to eat breakfast. At this time, she found that Xiao Tianchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan had already run 10 kilometers around South Hill Manor. The 2 sisters were wearing long-sleeved sportswear. One was black, and the other was white. Xiao Tianchuan was more resolute, so she wore black. Xiao Yuanyuan was more introverted, so she wore white. It was very clean. The 2 faces were exactly the same, but they were different from Pudding and Little Bean. Pudding was on the skinny side, while Little Bean was chubbier, so it was easier to recognize them. But Xiao Tianchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan were exactly the same in height, figure, and appearance. If it weren't for their different clothes, they wouldn't be able to tell Little Bean apart. I say, when my auntie named you guys, she was too casual. Little Bean suddenly sighed. What do you mean? Xiao Yuanyuan looked at Little Bean with a smile, holding a towel in her hand. My sister and I, although our names are the same, Chow Chow Mu. But we have a source. Do you know the ancient poem, Immortal at the Magpie Bridge? If 2 people love each other for a long time, why would they be together day and night? At that time, my mommy missed my daddy, so she named them Chow Chow Mu. It's so poetic. You 2 are Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan. Little Bean complained more than once. She always thought that her auntie was a smart and thoughtful person. Why did she name her children so casually? My mom said that we should name them casually so that they'll be easy to raise. They can't be too weird or they'll have a bad life, Xiao Tuanshuan said. Xiao Yuan nodded. Although our names aren't that poetic, Tuan 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 and Yuan Yuan is a good name. It means that our family is together. I like it. As long as you two like it, what else can I say? Little Bean complained like an adult as she drank her yogurt. I heard that your boyfriend is coming back today? Xiao Yuan asked her. Yeah, I'll pick him up later, Little Bean said happily. Xiao Tuanshuan immediately rolled his eyes. You drive? Are you sure? I'll ask my driver to pick me up. Is that okay? It seemed that Little Bean's driving skills were a secret that the whole family knew. It's too troublesome to find a driver. I can go with you. Xiao Yuan smiled. Really? Don't tell me you have something to ask of me? One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Little Bean understood this principle. What can I ask of you? You're not as rich as Pudding, and you're not as good at martial arts as Tuan Tuan. Xiao Yuan continued to laugh. You make it sound like I'm worthless? No. How can you be worthless? At least you know how to eat, Xiao Yuan. How dare you insult me? Do you think I won't show you how lovey-dovey I am? Little Bean pointed at Xiao Yuan's nose and said confidently. Xiao Tuanshuan, Xiao Yuan, sis, that's all you've got? Even Qin Guogua couldn't stand it anymore and was sweating. Xiao Yuan, you're only 12. Do you have a driver's license? You can drive. Little Bean finally realized that although Xiao Yuan could drive, she didn't have a driver's license. She was only 12 years old. Although she was 1.65 meters tall, she was still underage. Chapter 48. Xiao Yuan smiled slightly. I drive. I don't need a driver's license. Hey, if you guys leave, what will I do at home? Xiao Tuanshuan suddenly realized how bored she would be if the two left. Why don't you continue to fight with my brother? Little Bean suggested. Sister, do you want to die? Qin Guogua covered Little Bean's mouth from behind. Even though he won last night's competition, he was still exhausted, okay? Xiao Tuanshuan was a scary girl. Qin Guogua didn't want to fight with her. Pa, I have an idea. Tuanshuan, you can play with Tang Tianjiao later. Little Bean began to come up with another idea. Tang Tianjiao? Xiao Tuanshuan was confused. Brother, call Tianjiao later and ask him to come? I think Tuanshuan will like him. I hope so. Qin Guogua smiled wickedly. At this moment, Tang Tianjiao just got up at home. He had classes today, but he refused to go to school. In the morning, Tang Chuan was so angry because of this that he almost used the family law. In the end, Qin Ning spoke up and let him go. Other children would go out with their parents on the weekend, eat, and go to the amusement park. Tang Tianjiao's family was special. From time to time, a boy or girl would come to fight with him. If he got into more trouble, he would be beaten by his parents. After a beating, he would behave for a while. Among the children, Tang Tianjiao was beaten the most. He was indeed the naughtiest. Even Huamin was confused. To be honest, she had never seen such a naughty child. Tang Tianjiao woke up in the morning and refused to get up. He wanted to go to South Hill Manor and play with his uncle. Then he received a call from Qin Guogua, who invited him over. He said that he had a new friend. The kid picked up the phone and got up quickly. He dressed himself up as a devil and then asked the driver to take him to South Hill Manor. He didn't even wait for his mother. He complained that Qin Ning was too slow. On the other side, Xiao Yuan picked a white Maserati from the garage of South Hill Manor. Then he took Little Bean out of the house. Little Bean was really lazy. She didn't even want to put on makeup to pick up her boyfriend. She changed into a Chanel dress and went out. Fortunately, she had a good foundation and exquisite facial features, so even if she didn't dress up, she still looked beautiful. Where's Yuan? Xiao Fei came back from his morning run with Lu Yen and was surprised to see his daughter missing. They went out with Little Bean. He went out with Little Bean. Lu Yen was surprised. Yeah, Little Bean's driving skills are terrible, so Yuan Yuan drove to pick up Little Bean's boyfriend. Yuan Yuan is driving? Lu Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can Little Bean handle Yuan Yuan's driving? Xiao Fei was worried about Little Bean. Hearing this, Qin Guogua could not help but ask, Auntie, is Sister Yuan Yuan bad at driving? No, she drove very well. Lu Yen smiled, but her smile was complicated. Qin Guogua vaguely felt that his second sister was going to be in trouble. As expected, 10 minutes later, after getting off the mountain road and onto the highway, Xiao Yuan Yuan drove the car until it flew. Little Bean's stomach churned as if she was on a roller coaster. Sister Little Bean, do you think I'm driving too slowly? The engine was so loud that Xiao Yuan Yuan had to shout. Little Bean covered her mouth to stop herself from vomiting. She yelled, You didn't drive too slowly. You flew too fucking low, Xiao Yuan Yuan. Chapter 48-49. At Haidaleo Restaurant. Pudding was absent-minded during the meal. She checked her cell phone frequently, worried that something might happen at home. Pudding, are you in a hurry? If you're in a hurry, you can leave first. I'll pay the bill, Han Yueyao comforted her. I'll pay the bill. It's okay, Auntie Han. Boss, your coming-of-age ceremony is coming soon. Can you date after you turn 18? Liao Mukin leaned back in his chair with a smirk on his face. Pudding's face turned cold immediately. I mean, you're finally over 18. Will the chairman allow you to date? Liao Mukin realized his question was inappropriate and immediately corrected himself. It's none of your business. Pudding didn't want to answer such a boring question. If this guy didn't look like Handsome Sue, she swore she would have thrown him into the hot pot. After the meal, Pudding took out her wallet and handed it to a newcomer named Xia Mo. I'm going to the washroom. Please pay the bill for me. Thank you. Okay, President Qin. The girl took Pudding's wallet and walked toward the bar. Pudding went into the washroom to reapply her lipstick. She was surprised to see an acquaintance here. The girl was surprised to see her as well. Pudding, long time no see. Her voice was sweet and so was her face. Over the years, she had undergone many successful plastic surgeries, but she wasn't the same as she used to be. Pudding stared at her face and didn't speak. The girl smiled. I'm sorry. I shouldn't call you by your nickname in such a formal setting. Should I call you Miss Qin or President Qin? Tianan, long time no see, Pudding said. Of course not. With my status, how can I offend a rich young lady like you? Tian mocked with a smile. Are you curious? I'm back in the country. Is Yunchu back? She looked at Pudding with a smile. Pudding still didn't speak. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Yunchu is very busy. He doesn't have time to come back. After all, nothing is more important than his studies. Tian smiled brightly. What are you trying to say? Pudding looked at Tian's face and felt nauseous. Pudding had a good memory. She still remembered when Tian was little, Auntie Huiyanyan took her to South Hill Manor to play. At that time, the relationship between the adults and Huiyanyan's life and Tian's were not bad. After so many things had happened, Tian was no longer the same as before. At least, the innocence and childish, the chilly innocence in her eyes, was replaced. She used her mother's death to make Shenmingxi and Wei Ying bear the guilt in their hearts. Tianyan, and treated Huishi even wanted to be with Wei Yunchu. Pudding had seen this many times 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Tian had been studying in the capital. However, it was said that she had developed a psychological disorder and did not feel safe, so she came back. Han Huan's house. Naturally, she had more opportunities to interact with Wei Yunchu. Then, she kept creating conflicts between the two of them. Pudding and Wei Yunchu broke up completely. They blacklisted each other and didn't contact each other for 5 years. Pudding hadn't seen Tian for 5 years. Seeing her now, she felt suffocated for no reason. Pudding, that Liao Mukin is good. He's perfect for you. Don't think about my Yunchu again. You two are history, Tian Tian stared at Pudding's face and said word by word. Chapter 4850. Then Pudding suddenly laughed. Her laughter was unfathomable. What are you laughing at? Tian Tian's eyes gradually turned cold. She had lost all her patience with Pudding. I'm just laughing at you. After so many years, you're still as stupid as ever. You're telling me this, which proves how insecure you are. 5 years have passed. Didn't you go abroad with him? Why don't you even have the most basic sense of security now? Also, you're warning me. Who do you think you are? Even if I don't go to Wei Yunchu, he still won't like you. You don't seem to realize this fact. Tian Tian sneered. You're mistaken. My meaning is clear. Yunchu doesn't have to be with me. He can be with anyone. As long as that person isn't you, I'm fine with it. Really? If you put it that way, then I really want to make things difficult for you. Take a guess. If I take the initiative to call him and invite him back to my coming-of-age ceremony, then, will we go back to how we were before? Will he not come back to America and leave you alone abroad? Hearing Pudding's words, Tian Tian's expression changed drastically. She was also frightened. Qin Zhao Zhao, don't be so cheap. Hearing that Pudding was going to call Wei Yunchu, Tian Tian was completely flustered. All these years, the two of them had been in a cold war. If Pudding really couldn't resist calling him first, then Wei Yunchu wouldn't be able to resist. Then Wei Yunchu must have been unable to resist the temptation. After all, everyone knew how well he used to treat Pudding. That was why Tian Tian used the word cheap to insult Pudding. Pudding wasn't angry. She had always been calm. After hearing Tian Tian's words, she only smiled. Then she looked at the mirror in the bathroom and adjusted her makeup. You're wrong. I've always been expensive. Then, Pudding walked away in her high heels, leaving a pale Tian Tian behind. After Pudding left, she was a little flustered. Then she took out her phone and sent Wei Yunchu a WeChat message. Yunchu, what are you doing? After a while, there was no reply. Gritting her teeth, Tian Tian sent another message. Yunchu, I miss you. When I get back, I'll treat you to steak. She still didn't get a reply. Wei Yunchu received a WeChat message, but when he saw that it was from her, he just glanced at it indifferently and didn't reply. In an elegant private room of a Sichuan restaurant with Wei Liao and Jiang Shaoyi, Yunchu didn't have a good appetite, so he only drank some water. A black custom-made phone was placed beside his hand. 5 minutes ago, Gao Buyuan updated his WeChat moments. Pudding and Wei Yunchu had blocked each other, but Pudding still had Pudding's WeChat. Later, Little Bean blacklisted Wei Yunchu as well. He only had Qin Guegua, Gao Buyuan, and Tang Tianjiao's contact information. Therefore, whenever Gao Buyuan posted something, he would be the first to see it. Wei Yunchu was also the closest to Gao Buyuan. 5 minutes ago, Gao Buyuan posted a short video. In the video, Little Bean was running toward him. Gao Buyuan added, "We've been online dating for 3 years, and we finally meet today. Wow, why is she fatter than in the photos?" As soon as he finished speaking, he was punched by Little Bean. He was such a clown. It looked like they were slandering Little Bean, but in fact, they were showing off their love. As Gao Buyuan and Little Bean's WeChat friends, he had to get used to the fact that they could show off their love at any time. Wei Yunchu suddenly envied them. If it weren't for that incident 5 years ago, he and Pudding would be very close today. Chapter 4851. In the VIP passageway of the airport, Little Bean pounced on him and kissed him crazily. From afar, she looked like a happy husky, attracting the attention of passers-by. Gao Buyuan didn't bring anything with him because he was on leave. He only had a black Burberry bag in his hand. He had also changed out of his police uniform into a casual outfit. Gao Buyuan wasn't as hot-tempered as his mother, nor was he as gossipy as his father. Especially when he smiled, he felt that the whole world was beautiful. Gao Buyuan was the least good-looking among this group of children. In fact, he wasn't bad, but he couldn't compare to Pudding, Little Bean, and Wei Yunchu. Gao Buyuan's eyes weren't big, and his facial features weren't that exquisite, but he was still good-looking. Little Bean had always thought that he was a warm man. He had done all kinds of embarrassing things for Little Bean over the years. Even when he was often pranked, he wasn't angry. Even the cold and arrogant Pudding envied her sister because in all these years, she had never seen Little Bean and Gao Buyuan quarrel. It was always Little Bean who was angry, and Gao Buyuan would coax her unconditionally and tirelessly. The elders felt sorry for Buyuan. Even Huamin and Qin Chu often warned Little Bean not to bully Buyuan. But was Buyuan really that easy to bully? Gao Buyuan studied at the Public Security University, and his major was one of the best. He was agile and quick-witted. Before he graduated, he helped his professors solve a murder case and performed well. Such a person was only afraid of Little Bean because he liked her and didn't want her to be sad. Looking at Little Bean and Gao Buyuan being so intimate, Xiao Yuanyuan shook her head and sighed. Why do I feel like I shouldn't have come today? Let Xiao Tuanshuan come. Yuanyuan, come here. Let me introduce you. Little Bean was done acting coquettishly and then remembered that she had a cousin. She pulled Xiao Yuanyuan over and was about to introduce her, but Xiao Yuanyuan smiled and said, no need to introduce him. Gao Buyuan is your boyfriend, the son of Auntie Zhu Lingling and Uncle Gao Ran. He's a freshman at the Public Security University. He performed well and won a second-class Team Merit Award. He also helped his professors solve a shocking murder case. I heard that he's been recommended to graduate students. But you investigated him? Little Bean exclaimed. My sister did. Don't you know her? She loves to investigate the background of others the most. All these people have been turned upside down by her. I'm just borrowing her glory. Tuan Tuan is really something. Little Bean mumbled. So, Gao Buyuan smiled and greeted Xiao Yuanyuan. So what now? Should I call him Brother Buin or brother-in-law? Xiao Yuanyuan pretended to be an adult and asked. What brother-in-law? Did he pay you to change your name? Little Bean glared at Xiao Yuanyuan. Gao Buyuan quickly took out a red packet from his bag and stuffed it into Xiao Yuanyuan's hand. Brother-in-law. Xiao Yuanyuan took the money and changed her words. Little Bean didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She glanced at the young man beside her and said, Look at how smart you are. You always carry red packets around with you. You're good? You have a bright future. Thank you for your compliment, Dr. Qin. Gao Buyuan smiled warmly. Every time he returned home to this familiar city and saw his beloved Little Bean, Gao Buyuan would be filled with happiness. He still remembered when he left this city to go to school in Jing City as a freshman. Little Bean's eyes were swollen from crying. Gao Buyuan's heart ached for her. When she arrived at school, her throat became inflamed. It took 3 days of infusion for her to recover. Later, he came home almost every week to help Little Bean recover. Gao Buyuan was the representative of his generation who doted on his wife. Who wouldn't agree with him? After they got into the Maserati, Little Bean and Gao Buyuan sat in the back seat and began to lovey-dovey. I don't think I need to eat lunch. I'm so full from this PDA, Xiao Yuanyuan complained in the driver's seat. Chapter 4852. While Xiao Yuanyuan was joking with them, 7 or 8 police officers blocked the road ahead as if they were investigating something. What the? No way. Traffic police. Xiao Yuanyuan blurted out. It's okay. We're not drunk drivers. Gao Buyuan looked at Xiao Yuanyuan and knew she wasn't drunk. Little Bean interrupted, but she's driving without a license. She's only 12 years old. Gao Buyuan, sit tight. I'll step on the gas. Xiao Yuanyuan seemed to want to compete with the police officers. No. I'll take care of it. Gao Buyuan didn't want his little cousin to take the risk. At this moment, the police officer waved his hand to stop the car. Xiao Yuanyuan hesitated for a moment before she obediently pulled over. After all, before she came back to China, her dad repeatedly warned her not to cause trouble for Huamin's aunt. License, a police officer said in a routine tone as he waved his hand at Xiao Yuanyuan, who was sitting in the driver's seat. At this moment, the back seat window opened and Gao Buyuan stuck his head out. You don't have to call my dad, right? Gao Ran had been a director for a long time, and his son had appeared in the bureau many times. Almost everyone knew who he was. Seeing that he was the son of a big shot, they immediately let him in. No. Take care. Galbuyuan nodded and smiled as he closed the window. Little Bean looked at Galbuyuan with admiration and kissed him on the cheek. Can you guys control yourselves? There's a living person in front of us. Xiao Yuanyuan almost closed her eyes. We can't control ourselves. If you're not used to it, you can get out of the car and cool off. Xiao Yuanyuan. Galbuyuan's return made the atmosphere livelier. In Huamin's South Hill Manor, there were banquets held in the front greenhouse for several days. Of course, they only hosted their family and friends. To everyone's surprise, when Little Bean, Galbuyuan, and Xiao Yuanyuan came back, Tang Tianjiao's face was bruised and his arm was dislocated. How did you do that? Galbuyuan laughed. Obviously, he was gloating. Qin Guogua leaned against the door frame with a cold expression. She fought with Tuan Tuan. Haha. Little Bean let out a tragic laugh. Xiao Yuanyuan, on the other hand, was calm as if she had expected this. She even patted Tang Tianjiao's shoulder and comforted him. You're really lucky. My sister didn't even hit you hard. The last time you competed with my sister, there was a kid your age from our military academy who was beaten up by my sister until all his bones were broken. He was bedridden for 3 months. Hearing Xiao Yuanyuan's words, Tang Tianjiao shuddered. How scary was this? Originally, he was full of confidence. After all, he was a taekwondo master and had learned professional Muay Thai from his father. That's right. Last year, Tang Chuan brought his wife and children to Thailand for business and stayed there for more than a month. In order to train his son's physical fitness, Tang Chuan invited a famous Muay Thai master to teach him personally. Logically speaking, even though this kid was only 12 years old, he was very agile. It wouldn't be a problem for him to deal with 5 or 6 adults. But even so, Tang Tianjiao was still completely oppressed by Xiao Tianchuan, who was of the same age. I heard, Brother Yao won yesterday. I thought I could do it too. Tang Tianjiao looked aggrieved. He had never seen Qin Guogua's skills, so he underestimated Xiao Tianchuan's ability. I won by a narrow margin yesterday. You were completely crushed today, Qin Guogua said calmly. Why do I feel like you guys set this up to trick me? The more Tang Tianjiao thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. You're making excuses after losing. Useless. Little Bean laughed and scolded, trying to hide her intention to trick Tang Tianjiao. Everyone's smiles were also very profound and mysterious. By the way, Brother Bui, have you contacted Yunchu? Is he not coming back? Qin Guogua thought of something and asked Buin. Chapter 4853. When Qin Guogua asked this question, everyone's gaze focused on Galbuyuan. He actually wanted to give everyone a surprise, but I asked him the other day. He said that he still has a project to do, so he won't be coming back. After Galbuyuan said that, he felt a little awkward and lowered his head. Forget it. If he doesn't come back, so be it. Our pudding doesn't care. Although Little Bean always bickered with her sister, she was still unhappy to hear that her sister was wronged. Therefore, she naturally spoke up for her sister. GK headquarters, after Pudding finished her work, she remembered that someone else had arrived today. Just as she was thinking, her chauffeur called. President Qin, I've sent him to the company. Do you want me to go straight to your office? Yes, bring him here. Okay, I'll be upstairs in 5 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Pudding was still a little nervous. She stood up and took a few deep breaths. All these years, as long as it was someone related to him, she would carefully interact with them. Although they had already forgotten and couldn't remember, but she had all the memories. 5 minutes later, the office door opened. Pudding looked at the familiar figure and almost cried. Uncle, Pudding said. Pudding, I'm not late, am I? And smiled honestly. After Master Wu erased everyone's memories, and also lost all his memories. He no longer had any obsession with Suyu, so he naturally wouldn't stay in Suyu's private mansion anymore. At first, Pudding introduced him to her father to be the company's security manager. Later on, and couldn't get used to the life in the big city, so he returned to his hometown. An's hometown was in a remote mountain area. When he returned to the area, he used his savings to build a 2-story house. He even married a girl from a neighboring village and had a son and a daughter. He contracted a fish pond in his hometown and raised some rare fish. His income had been quite good these few years. And didn't even remember how he met Pudding. He vaguely remembered that he used to work for a big boss. He had protected the big boss for many years. Later on, the big boss moved away or something else happened. His memory of that was blurry. However, the money in his bank card was real. He also vaguely remembered that he had known Pudding and her family for many years. After and returned to the mountains, he rarely came to Sea City. This time, it was Pudding who called him in advance and invited him to the coming-of-age ceremony. He was really flattered. "Why didn't Auntie come?" Pudding asked with a smile. "She still has to take care of the 2 kids at home. Uncle Xiaoan, I'll bring you home later. You can stay at my house for the next few years. Don't feel uncomfortable. Everyone misses you." "Yes." Xiaoan nodded. Although he came back mainly to attend Pudding and Little Bean's coming-of-age ceremony, and had a vague feeling that there was someone more important. But he just couldn't remember. That feeling was very strange. "Uncle Lin, how much do you remember about the past?" "To be honest, maybe it's because my head was injured when I was in the army, so my memory has been deteriorating for the past few years. I don't really remember much about the past. It's very vague." "Do you still remember Lu?" Pudding stopped halfway through her sentence. "Forget it. When you see her, you'll probably remember her." Pudding smiled. Because of the loss of his memory, In couldn't even remember Lu Yen. How would he react when he saw her again? Pudding knew it was inappropriate for her to gather so many people, but in fact, she just wanted to use this method to miss Su Yu, the man who was very, very important to her life. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.